I'm Natasha Ryan with the North Group. It is time to head north, our podcast. And with me, I have Steve Hernandez, CEO of the North Group, Brittany Galli with Mobohubb, or affectionately known as Brit, and Lee Oughton with the Kindness Games and Fortress. Okay, so we are here to debrief on GSX, of course, the largest security conference in the country for our industry. We want to talk about what we loved, what we took away from it, and of course, we all know each other well, so this should be a free-flowing conversation. And when we kind of talked about how to do this, Britt had a really good idea. I love this idea. We're going to turn this into what Britt called maybe like an award show, right, Britt?
Yep, best of awards for GSX 2022. Hot Atlanta.
Okay, first of all, I want to start with the question because we all were at last year's GSX. We were at this year's. I know I saw huge difference. Last year was my first year going, and I could not believe how much bigger and better the expo floor was and how many more sessions were offered. Let's chat a little bit about that. Steve, let's go to you. What did you think last year?
I mean, this is my 5th year attending GSX. I thought from what I partook in, it was absolutely amazing. I thought the show floor was phenomenal. I thought the structure of the show floor was phenomenal. I thought a lot of the speakers were phenomenal. I mean, the lineup for speakers this year was tremendous. The after parties, public and private, that I briefly stopped by were great. I give a shout out to many of them, but I'll save those shout outs. I really think there was a lot of effort put in by a lot of people. And I think that we saw a lot of new faces in the industry, and we saw the same faces that we love to see. I loved it.
Britt, last year, this year, what do you think?
Yeah, I think besides the attendance numbers, which I know were significantly higher, it was, I'll say, a better feeling of inclusion. The amount of young people, women in security that you saw on the floor, that you saw walking the conference, it was definitely bigger and better. It was great to see the money that the vendors actually put into the show and put into the events themselves. It showed that, I mean, it's the commonality on the security industry right now, which is their money's flowing, companies are buying up other companies, it's consolidating, and now we're becoming one cohesive industry that's now progressing forward, right? There was a lot of disassociation. There was a lot of companies that were, fragmented, a lot of parts and arms of the industry that were fragmented. We're now finally seeing all that come together. And it's great to even see it, not necessarily just in the party piece of it, but you can see it on the show floor. You see it on the education sessions. You see it in the diversity happy hours, like Women in Security, the Young Professionals happy hour. You can kind of see that cohesion. And I just think it's great. It's finally progressing, which is great after COVID, 2 years of that nonsense that we're now over.
Yes, thank God. Lee.
I should say no comment because Brit's just answered everything, right? Like anything like you could have said, like she just said it. No, honestly, just amazing. I mean, obviously the highlight was getting together with my crew and hanging with you guys. But I think the most kind of, apart from meeting Tim in person for the first time, I think the most powerful and moving thing for me was the unity, was everybody coming together, irrelevant of who you work for, what your affiliation was. I just loved it. I loved the fact that there are so many different people talking to each other too, right? People that you never used to associate with, and again, I go back to what Britt said of like thinking about the young people on the floor, not just like walking the conference floor, but the fact that they had the courage to present themselves in front of like huge personalities like ourselves, right? That they've now got. Is that your dog that's just turned up too behind you? I was like, brilliant.
He's joined our podcast.
Brilliant. Dog on the podcast. Come on down. No, it's just amazing. And I love it. And I've already put at least one young woman in security together with some great mentors. And I'm going to put you together with that young lady too. So I'm really proud. I really loved it. So much better this year. But I mean, I think that was obvious. It was going to be obvious because of obviously what we were going through in COVID.
Sure.
So I was just really excited and thankful to be there and for all the opportunities of being able to speak, really make a difference. So that's all I've got for now.
Lee, so you touched on this, and Brit, really the credit goes to you. We were sitting in a women in security meeting, our monthly meeting, and you know, the leaders of women in security, I don't know if it was you or Mary, but you were talking about how it's not enough to just show up. It's not enough to attend the meetings. It's not even enough to sit on the committee. Like, you really have to advocate for the younger and more female representation, and you have to mentor. So hats off to you, Lee, for you already were wonderful at that. And Brit's really, you're so good at, taking people under your wings. So, but Lee, you just said you already connected people, so you're already doing it. And I think that's amazing. So, Brit, what were some of these awards? What are we getting the best of? I think this is fun.
Yeah. I was going to say I give my best private happy hour award to Effortlow. Not only did the CEO, I think, did a really good job of, event space, time, and the audience in who was there from the industry. I'll say key decision makers, but also industry veterans that honestly, it's hard to get in a room sometimes. So I'd say great job to that company and that team. And then as far as the best sponsored, I'll say public happy hour or party. I'll go ahead and say it and we can debate this out, whether it was Canada night or Texas night. What do you guys think?
I have to say
I just punted it.
The theme of Texas night with the barbecue. I mean, look, we all know Chuck brands himself well. So the event was nothing short of fantastic branding. I had a good time with the magician who managed to take the ring off of my finger and attach it to the keychain in his pocket without ever touching it. I don't get it. I loved it. I had a great time. But as far as like socializing with my crew and really getting into intimate conversations, that was great at Canada night. So I think hats off to both events. I'm going to be Switzerland and go right down the middle.
Can we just say that you should keep better track of your belongings?
It doesn't sound like a good security measure to give some guy your ring. I don't know.
I think I looked at it's on the dash of the red Beamer in the parking lot. Like, it better not be. I don't know where it is.
It must have been the beverages at the event. Then.
They were.
I agree with you, Natasha. Lee, I want to hear what your thoughts are on that award. But same thing. I think that Canadians are always so nice.
Yeah,
so sweet.
Yeah. So,
and I feel like they just really, it was a very welcoming hug around you happy hour. And then,
exactly.
like I said, Texas night. One of the biggest takeaways. Thanks, Chuck, for all the giveaways, of course. But one of the biggest takeaways from Texas night, I noticed it was not only was it great that it was at the beginning of the conference, so everybody could meet there, make their plans for the week, so on and so forth. Introduce themselves to new people to get the week started for the conference. But the other piece to that is it was really nice to see the sponsorship from the vendors. So good job, Chuck, for getting them all to do that. Next year, I think there's rumors already that it's going to be bigger and better, which is amazing. And women in security might even be involved. So I think that's something to look forward to from next year. But if that was a preview, that was a great preview. Great. Go ahead, Lee.
So Uncle Chuck is my man. Everybody knows that. I think you have to give him huge kudos and a round of applause for like what you kind of just touched upon is how he's able to bring everybody together, get all that sponsorship. I mean, look, you got to take your hat off to him, but right, because thinking about logistically of all the preparation that you have to go through, and then on the actual night of executing it, and I think we need to give a shout out to his amazing. I think she's the director of administration for FOC is Jessica, because she was awesome, and also Chuck's wife Angie too, because again, we all know it's the ladies that rule, right? I'm giving that to you ladies, and again, they work silently in the background, and obviously Chuck gets all of the accolades because he's front of house. But they put so much together, and I think the way it was executed and bring in, like you said, young faces, older faces that have been in the industry a long time together in those conversations, I think it was amazing. But I also did love Canada Night too, because it was a different twist, and Canadians are just so kind and nice. And obviously we hung out together, and I think Tash said it earlier, is I think Canadian Night was better for us in terms of the way we will be able to engage conversationally, because I think that the music was a bit lower and we were able to find a quiet spot, so we were able to really enjoy and the emotional roller coaster that we've all been on the past couple of days. But I have to give a shout out to Private Party. My favorite had to be the one and only Jeffrey Slotnick, because it was in a cigar bar. I love cigars. It was like a speakeasy. You go through a British phone booth to get in there, and it was just fantastic. But yeah, it's hard to say what was the best, because everything was fantastic. Yeah. I actually really think that everything was really successful this year, and it was super cool. And thanks for everybody that invited me to these dues too, because that's cool.
Did you guys go to the speaker panels and speakers? Who was your best either education session or panel that you attended?
Ours.
What?
I am in charge of education, so no, I do a few of them, and the thing that I noticed, they're great, right, informationally, but also I just noticed the attendance numbers were great, because last year I had to introduce a lot of sessions as the theater captain, and the attendance this year was so much better in the sessions. It was awesome to look out an audience and see like 100 people at every session. Really cool.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I mean, let me say, I mean, so I had quite a few favorites. I've got to say, the GSOC one that I went to. I mean, I don't know who the company was that presented it. I think they called the North Group or something. There was this like bearded, like tough guy on the stage, Steve or something, CEO. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed that one. And I'm not just saying that because they're my friends, but I think it was super informative, and I like the way that you pitched it and you talked about numbers, ROI. I think that's super important, because a lot of people that don't know much about GSOCs or how to run them don't really understand the fundamentals, and again, of how you can then communicate that to your customer of what a GSOC actually does, and again, the added value of each component. So I think there was a lot of what I loved with a lot of the sessions were they were very educational. One of my favorites, I have to say this, emotionally, was one about failure, which I thought was extremely brave for ASIS to put this on as a session.
Wanted to go. Who that one, Lee?
Right. So our good friend Mike Gibbs was leading the conversation, but on the panel you had Antoinette, who is a massive female voice, and actually it was the first time I've met her in person, and I was like, wowza, you are super cool. Why don't we know each other that well? So I'm going to make a concerted effort to know her better. Also, you had Jeff Slotnick on there, and Ricky's surname escapes me, but again, extremely articulate, very charismatic. Every single one of them was, and I suppose the concept of it was they were engaging the crowd to speak about their failings. Now, as you know, as a security professional, super uncomfortable. Now, I love it because I love to get out there and do that kind of stuff, right? But I've embraced that. But most type A, whether you're a man or a female, you don't like to, let's say, showcase your vulnerabilities or what would be perceived weaknesses. So it's really good for me that not only did you have some really powerful speakers, who have been in the industry a long time, but what was cool for me is that ASIS put that on, so they lent into vulnerability themselves, and then also they allowed the crowd to engage. And like you said, Tash, like packed audience, I think there wasn't a spare seat there, so that was really cool. And of course, I did one on the metaverse with the amazing Mary Gamble and the sweet goatee virtual avatar John Harris. I had to put my plug into at the end, but yeah, great again. Amazing sessions.
Yeah. I'll say in the sessions too, the amount of diversity that was in there was great. So you had a bunch of, younger people. There was even, I saw quite a few white peas, people, faces you haven't seen before, which is great. I mean, you want that fresh perspective. You want that clean slate. You want that newness to kind of the speaker set. And I think that actually really came through this year, just honestly, because of numbers and attendance and who was able to go this year and who wasn't able to go last year.
Steve, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of innovation. I think that it's good to see the industry growth. I think that what we're seeing right now is, and something we've all talked about offline is there's a lot of people doubling down on their vision, their mission. I've talked to a lot of both sole proprietors and kind of corporate people that either work for big corporations in the security departments, CSOs, directors. I had several meetings on that front, and the reality is, I'm super impressed with where the industry direction is. I actually am more impressed because COVID, everything we just came out of, and there are folks doubling down. They're investing money in security. They're investing money in their businesses. It's just great to see other people in this industry successful, right? I think we're feeding each other. I think meeting Tim for the first time in person was phenomenal. Being a big fan of everything you guys have done with the kindness games, it's just I just love seeing where we're at. It's more about the industry growth. There's a lot of innovation coming out about everything from active shooter mitigation, more proactive security is what I'm seeing and hearing with technology, right? And that's huge. We're working on several initiatives internally on that front. So it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal to see the growth.
Okay, I know Brit has to go. She had a hard out. I just saw that. Sorry, Brit. Thank you so much for popping in. We love you. We appreciate your time. And I will get back with you on Friday.
Awesome. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah.
Awesome, Brit.
Stay with me here. I know Brit's next question was going to be, were there any booths that stood out to you on the expo floor that were your favorite that you liked? Steve, you want to start?
Yeah, listen, you have the big ones, right? The Pinkertons, the AUS. You have all these big booths, but what I saw was a lot of up and coming technology companies.
Yes.
That are market entry, and as the business guy, right? I love that market entry, that first approach to diving into an industry that's oversaturated with people that half the time don't really know what they're doing. They don't know how to tie in the risk management side to the technology side, to the intel side. I saw a lot of innovation. I saw a lot of up and coming companies that have some first movers advantage in the market, which I love that. I think that's awesome. We need that. We also need to get away from the cannibalization of the industry. So I see a lot of folks walking around the show floor that have protective services companies now that worked for other big companies back, 2 years ago. Realized that those companies cut, so they went out on their own, started their own thing. I love that. I love seeing that. A lot of those guys are veteran law enforcement guys, veteran military guys, and they're taking that leap of faith to go into the industry on their own, and that's just absolutely amazing.
Lee, you're up.
Yeah. I mean, it's so difficult to actually. I mean, I'm going to pick out one that because I spent some time with those guys, and they also afforded me and graced me with a conversation. And that was the OnTick team. And that, yeah, you were going to say those guys? Where's Tash gone? She's disappeared. She got so excited. She disappeared.
You took mine. That was going to be mine.
Ah, well, there you go. Well, I mean, I have to give them a big shout out because, my good friend Chuck Randolph invited me over to have some conversations in close protection. And then I really loved it because we went into their little kind of secure area. Yeah, super cool. And then we had a really deep and meaningful conversation with some other, really cool people. Tom, I think Tom's the president. He was in there. Chuck Tobin was in there, and also Caleb was in there. And it was fantastic because apart from Tom, because the first time I met Tom, I know all those guys personally, so we were really able to have a really cool conversation. It was really thoughtful and powerful too, because we were talking about all kinds of different dynamics. We were talking about wellness, we're talking about mental health, but we were also talking about, innovation, creativity. And it was really cool to see some vulnerability, because obviously you've got presidents, you've got CEOs in that conversation too, that were saying what they were doing for their teammates through the pandemic, what they're still doing right now, and how they're being super kind and thoughtful to them. So yeah, you've got to give, and also what OnTick is doing. I think you've got to give them huge kudos, and I think that they're becoming a big player. And again, I think creativity is the name of the day, and definitely the buzzword that we really need to focus on right now. Steve mentioned it, is, our industry needs to be more creative, more innovative, and really embrace that paradigm shift of where we're going towards technology. That doesn't mean that the physical operators are out of job. They just need to be more creative themselves, uptrain, get some new skills. I think it's exciting, and I think that's the way. I mean, I know, because me and Steve, obviously we're talking all the time, and you too, Tash, is that we really see where the industry's going and how cool it's getting. And again, because of there's so much young talent coming in, because of the technology really coming to the forefront, where it's the mindsets in the industry are changing. And let's say if you are, a bit of a stick in the mud and you're stuck in your ways, you don't have a choice. You have to move forward now, because it's like a wave. You either ride that wave, or that wave is going to knock you over, right?
Absolutely.
And this leads to kind of the other conversation we've been having, right? There is a need for us, for the corporations that are leading this, to partner with the smaller corporations that are either up or coming or struggling to expand. What we can't do is devalue our industry. We can't devalue the service offering to the customer. The most fruitful thing here is the integrity of our ability to build trust with a customer, right? I think that we have to invest in each other. I think, Lee, Chuck, Randolph, I think there's a number of people that are so, selfless when it comes to the industry. They're focused on growth. I guess, is that the best way to say it? They're not about, their position or their growth. They're about how can we better the industry. James Cameron is another one, right? James is just phenomenal. James has got a passion just to build the industry,
and not scared to upset people either, which I think is super cool. But he's disrupting in a really positive way. Sorry to jump in, bro, but that's what I love.
No, you're spot. But we have to invest in each other, right? That's the point. We have to invest in each other, and there's only so many of us that are doing it, and there's a need for others to do it without asking for something in return, I think, is the important piece. I say to all these guys that are their vendors, hey, if you have a question about business, or you want to expand, or you want to build a GSOC, call me, talk to me. I want to hear your vision. I had several meetings with people at GSX about that, and they said, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? I'm not afraid, based on success, to give you how we got there, right? I'm not, you're the same way, Lee, right? Like, it's not about money. It's about the friendships we build. It's about the growth of the industry. It's about the people we protect. It's about the integrity that we deliver to the customer market. I love the direction the industry is going with that. And I think that we need to do more to push each other in that direction.
Yeah. Hey, go on, Tash. Sorry. I keep jumping over you. Ladies first. My apologies.
You're fine. Okay. So it's funny you brought up Tom from OnTick. I want to go back to this for a second, because I met a lot of cool new people. You always meet a ton of people. I think he was my MVP for new friends.
Defo.
He is leading a company, and he point blank from jump wants to focus on thought leadership and change and growth. And he means it. They're standing behind it. And as far as the booth goes, like you said, to be able to have your podcast live on set in a quiet environment where you can have an intimate conversation amongst thousands of people on the floor. I just thought their booth was really cool, and they were all out there engaging, which is so important. You know, it wasn't just someone here dealing with the crowds, and if you caught them at like a happy hour. The executive team was out there really chatting it up with anyone and everyone who wanted to have a conversation. I was really appreciative of that. I thought that booth was my favorite. They were great. I do want to give a nod too in this vein and talking about changing the mindset and growth at the Women in Security Happy Hour. They had the documentarian there, they had the camera crew, and they asked women new and old to the industry, right? You've been in the industry 30 years, give us your stories. You've been in a year and a half, why are you here? And I think it's so great that we're seeing initiatives like that, right? Because I know a lot of women, I mean, look at me. I have no tactical background, right? The only link I have to military service is that, shut up, Steve, is that my dad, he was shaking his head for those of you listening, is that my dad was in the military. So I grew up on bases. I would have had no idea that this industry could have been a spot for me and feel so at home, but it does. And I love the industry. So there are women like me out there that have no idea this industry could even afford them opportunities. So I think things like that documentary are great to educate, spread the word. I hope it gets disseminated. I really do. Once it's done, so that it can wield the power for good. But the fact that that's even happening, I mean, kudos to the industry. I think it's great. Steve, sorry, now, or who was trying to talk? Sorry, Lee, go.
I'm always trying to talk. I should learn how to be quiet. No, I mean, really, you stole a bit of what I stole from you. But again, going back to Tom, I think again what he was doing. People can't lie these days without being found out, right? So when I was sat with Tom, I could genuinely see the authenticity flowing from him, and because it was the first time I've met, and the guys introduced me, said, "Oh, Lee's the kindness games," and he kind of chuckled, and he was like, "What the hell's the kindness games, right?" But then when we broke into this private conversation, I could see like a lot of my words like resonating with him, and he was like, "This, I really like this guy," and there was mutual respect and that feeling, and I could see it. So for me, it's about the different personalities that come. I've got to give a couple of shout outs for people that didn't have booths, though, is my good friend Max Segal, and also Brian the Flannery. He's going to hate me for calling him the Flan, but
the Flan,
the Flan. But it's so cool, and I go to a private conversation that me, Steve, the Flan, and Kehkashan Dabwani were having. We were we broke out and went to a bar, and I just loved those moments, right? And it was so impromptu, off the cuff, and as always, bringing, I love all those guys in different ways, but bringing together people that I enjoy. I think that's the thing I love about GSX, is the fact of you can just connect so many cool people, and then the fact they're like, I didn't really know who you were, but now I know that you're super cool, and they become like instant friends. And I think that is and I've also got to give a big shout out to Alison Sands. I hope I don't get in trouble for giving you a shout out, but she's awesome. I love the energy that she brings. Plus,
she is awesome. I gotta affirm that one. She is awesome. She's salty, and she doesn't take crap from anyone. And you know what? She is a visionary. And I gotta say, Flan, who I met for the first time in person, he just sponsored me for ATEP. I love him. He's phenomenal. Like I just, that's the type of guy you want to go out of your way just to hang out with and drink a beer with, right? So I have to say, it's like there's this formation happening of thought leaders and friends that are not the type of people, one, to piss each other off, nor are they the type of people to step on each other. It's just and I want to see this more with the industry. I want to see this togetherness, because at the end of the day, there's people that personalities don't mix. People don't like You know, there's people that don't like Steve. There's people that don't like Lee. There's a few people that probably don't like Natasha. At the end of the day,
Nobody likes Tash.
at the end of the day, what we have is we have some different personalities here, but we have innovation. That's what I love about this industry, and that's probably the reason I don't leave, is we have innovation. We're evolving. We are in a 10-year evolution right now where you either evolve or you're going to die as a business, right? You evolve with technology, you evolve with some of your thought process, and it's happening. And it's a good time to be in the industry, because it's not like the old days of the Pinkertons, right? Back in the 1800s, where it was 80 years of hard work doing security work, detective work. There's a happening occurring right now with technology and innovation and thought leadership. And it's all kind of, and we're living it. We're living it. We're watching it real time.
We said riding the wave.
Yeah, riding the wave. I love that. That's what I'm excited about. And the names you guys are mentioning, these are all people that over the next 10 years are going to be innovators to that growth. Tremendous innovation.
We got to give Jerry from Boston a shout out too. He is doing some fantastic work alongside James and all of those guys that are really trying to accelerate and bring the executive protection part of our sector forward.
I gotta say, I'm on the board of the BEPP.
Do you see the way he had to throw that in, Tash? You see that?
The Jerry thing. Jerry, yes. You are the man. That guy has the most amazing cufflink collection I've ever seen. It's almost like Devin Tullis's watch collection. I'm just gonna throw that out there, right? Devin has the best watch collection out of anybody I know.
He is. Hey, Tash, should we ask the question of who was the coolest hangout, in Atlanta? Yeah, who was the best person that you had some fun time with? Yeah, we can give those shout outs, right?
Yeah, I know mine.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm attached at the hip to Allison. So of course my forever MVP buddy will be Allison.
MVP.
However, our crew, man, I love my little crew, right? It's you guys, it's Tim, it's Brit, it's Jen Evans from Colorado, it's Jason Sikora. I mean, Mike Petty, let's not forget the one that gets us all to karaoke. I mean, the man. So I just heart our crew. I look so forward to these conferences, not only to gain knowledge, but mainly just to see all of these people who I just have so much love for.
I love that. And it's super cool. It's like a load of nomads just coming together, right? And just creating chaos. Atlanta must have thought, who the hell are these people? And I think we should shine a light on Mike Petty, because even though Mike has this huge personality, he is a bit of a quiet professional, I would say, and he's really focused on his trade craft. But when he is out socializing and for those that you don't know, Mike is an absolute karaoke monster.
He's like an animal. That guy. Listen. I gotta say, my number one was my wife. I got to do all that with you guys and her, which is cool. I don't get to do that much. Mike was probably my number 2 that I got to meet, that I got to see. Tim was my number 3. Yeah. And of course, you two, right?
Where are we on this list, Tash? We're like, we seem to be like falling down, right?
Because I spend so much time with you guys. But I'm just saying, like hearing Tim in person talk, and listen, I don't want to pull away from GSX, but I got to talk about the kindness games here for a second, because I've ran from it, right? And I just need my feet held to the fire. Natasha, you haven't done it for 30 days, so don't give me that.
Yeah, come on, Turtle.
Don't give me that. You haven't done it for 30 days, so when I do it, I'll do it for 30 days. But I just don't know when that'll happen. But listen, Tim is a thought leader. I have never met an Army guy so smart in my entire life. Yeah. And listening to him talk, like I was telling you guys when we were at the not the hookah bar, the hookah bar. I'm just kidding. But
Yeah, you need to emphasize what it was. We were, for those of you out there, we were smoking. I'm going to use the word shisha, so it doesn't get confused with something else that sounds the same as hookah, right?
Yeah, hashish. So when we were sitting there, like I told you guys, I have struggled with this industry. You've struggled with this industry. Natasha hasn't struggled at all yet, so it's fine. But really, the struggles we've gone through as executive and owner operators, right? And how we've wanted to quit. Hearing Tim's story and hearing him talk in person after watching so many lives and Facebook videos is so motivating. Is so motivating. If you're in a doubtful position and you come from our walk, and you need to reach out to somebody and you're a brother, that is the man that I will go to. Lee, you're one of the guys I go to when I need advice on things. But Tim, he has a whole different perspective for kind of being an operator, per se, on life. It's this out of the box thing. And I have to say, from an excitement, he would be my number one. From an entertainment, it would definitely be Mike, right? Because that guy on a karaoke mic is an animal. Like I can't even get my head around how awesome he is. And listen, James, you know what I'm talking about? What's his last name?
James who? What are we talking about? Which James? There's a lot of Jameses.
Who was I sitting next to at the hookah bar?
Oh, you're talking about Jason, right?
Jason, not
Jason
James.
Vaughn. Jason Vaughn.
Let me tell you what, Jason, that guy is motivating. That guy is motivating. So I think there's a number of people, but Jason had some this was more business, going back to the business side of it, not getting away from the fun side for a sec. Listening to him and some of the problem sets he deals with, it got me thinking. And that's what's good, is we can go from having fun talking about life in one conversation to then, hey, I have a problem. How would you handle this? Hey, and it's like you're constantly being fed. You're constantly being given a water trough to drink from, which is what I love. So I'll digress.
Well, guys, we're getting to that time. But what I will say is you're spot on about Tim. He actually presented to the Puget Sound chapter just a few hours ago, and attendance was fantastic because he is fantastic. And what I learned about that former Army tough guy that's so kind is that, Steve, you will appreciate this. He is a fellow bunny rabbit lover. They had a bunny. So we are both bunny lovers. I always get made fun of for my new bunny. Lee, have you seen my new bunny?
No, where's the bunny? You're going to show me the bunny right now?
Not right now, because I have to go inside. I'm in my office, but it's coming. I'll send you pictures.
All right, I want to see pictures of the bunny. Am I allowed to say anything about Tim or not?
Anything.
Well, I'm actually going to say something about. I'm going to say something about Steve actually, rather than Tim. But I do love what he said about Tim, and Tim knows how much I love him, and how much of an emotional time it was for me to meet him in person. But I'm going to say this. And I don't care what Steve says to me, but I saw a completely different side of Steve in that conversation, right? And I'm going to say this for our audience, is that Steve took a massive leap of faith and a huge risk, and he leaned into vulnerability, right? And he opened up in a way that I'm not just going to say men, but most humans wouldn't be willing to take that, go outside your comfort zone, because you can be crushed straight away. There are some nefarious actors out there that would be crushed, and maybe the fact of who was sat on the table, it felt like a great space for Steve. But mate, huge kudos to you, mate, for doing that. And just so you know, obviously I'm communicating it to the world right now, but I want you to know that I recognized it straight away when you were talking, right? So good for you, bro.
Oh, I'll add on to this one. So one of the reasons I came to work for Steve is because almost immediately I saw past the exterior of Steve.
Exactly.
He is a giant teddy bear underneath it all. And my little girls love him because he tells princess stories when my youngest one comes on the screen. So Steve is wonderfully soft behind his first impression. I will say that.
Okay, well, it's about that time, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now that's a wrap.
And we're done. And so expect to see Steve Hernandez start his kindness games journey in the next week. We will see his first post, which I will be happy to tag along with if you need someone to lift you up, Steve. I have full confidence you're more than capable, but I will join you if you need
Listen, can I get like a kindness games like template of like how is this supposed to go?
We've got one, bro. We'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And
okay, listen. You know what? I hand to God, I will commit for Lee and for the kindness games and for Tim to do it.
I mean,
I just need calendar reminders, Natasha. So if you could make somebody
I'm on it. Myself.
yeah, you do, Turtle. You've like what 10 more days and then you're done. Come on,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Wait, you don't have to do it consecutively.
You're meant to, and yeah, unless you're the Turtle, where like she's got like special dispensations to like just to do what she wants.
Well, listen, this is awesome. You guys are awesome. I will commit. I will commit under oath of the iPad
All
or
right.
whatever I have near me.
All right.
I'll commit to do. I owe it. Listen, it's such a good feeling to have such a good group in this industry, and you know, I got a lot of people that probably consider they're my friends, but you know, you guys are. I know that I can call on each and every one of you. I mean, Lee, you've always been there as long as I can remember, back to the days of PSG, man. So
the days in the days, it's like a Kleenex moment, right? Like maybe we should like put like a rating on this, right?
Hallmark music to the back.
There's too much emotion.
No, exactly.
Too much emotion. Okay, Natasha, over to you.
All right. So continue to check out our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and of course, go to our website if you want to see the video version on our podcast and blog section. Thanks, everyone, for being a part of A Time to Head North. Love you. Me until the next GM. Cheers, guys.